are listening to the Chartographers.
You are listening to the Chartographers, and this is the Happy Hour Minisode, the part where we just kind of take a breather, relax, don't worry about the fact that we just ranked every Beatles album ever in order, and it was an amazing time. And I'm joined here in the studio by the people that did that. It's me, Evan Sadi, it's Taryn O'Reilly, it's Bill Mayeroff, it's Bobby Evers. Hi guys.
Hi guys.
I know, it's so good. Before we jump into the thing we usually start off with every Happy Hour Minisode, in which we talk about what is the worst Beatles song, we were talking about how, as soon as we were done with that Part 2 podcast where we had a list in front of us of every album ranked, and we were just like, oh my god, we fucking did it. It was more of the fact that, like, everyone talked about how their personal ranking was drastically different from what we did. This is what we came together as consensus, and I appreciate all my guests for being as cool as they were and being like, we're going to get consensus one way or another. But the thing is that we were talking about, and Bill, I kind of wanted to expand upon it a little bit, the idea that for the Beatles, like Jesus, is personal for everyone. You know, they have a different relationship with the Beatles, and, like, in a weirdly personal ways, more than most other groups.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I know when I first got invited to do this podcast, and one of the things I was concerned about, and I think others were as well, was that there would be way too much butting of heads and just, you know, people being very stubborn about where their particular album should go, and we didn't have that, which is awesome. And I think the reason we didn't have that butting of heads is because from the start we acknowledged exactly what you said, and that is that the Beatles are so personal for everybody. You know, we all have the way that we got introduced to the Beatles.
Got Bobby through heartbreak.
You know, got Bobby through heartbreak. I remember being introduced to the Beatles sitting on the basement floor in my parents' house, and like it was my dad brought home the Beatles live at the BBC.
Oh wow.
Okay, and that was I was 10 years old. And that was my first experience with the Beatles. He was like, come downstairs, we're listening to this. And we listened to both discs, end to end. And that was how I got into the Beatles. You know, everyone's list is going to be different. And so, to do such a monumental thing that we did, which, unreal.
Yeah, this could be NPR worthy.
I can't believe we did it.
Yeah.
And I don't know about that.
Yeah, and we all remember my first experience with the Beatles, right? When I heard Free as a Bird for the first time. That was just, I'm like, who is this band? Are they still alive? I don't even know anymore.
And so, you know, it's so personal for everybody, but that's a very cool thing. And you know, I can't wait to see like what people say on Facebook or in the comments when it's released on SoundCloud and all that. Like, I want to see. I want the hate. I want to be able to have that discussion.
I mean, I'm kind of a Quarrymen originalist personally. I kind of like that. That was when they were at their peak. Also, that's the basis for Malcolm Gladwell's book, where he talks about if you do 10,000 hours of anything, you eventually become an expert at it. And he pointed to the Beatles, their intense rehearsal and touring and performing schedule, and how they did 10,000 hours of that before they became what they are.
I mean, well, and they, in their live shows in Germany, in Hamburg, they had, I mean, the reason they had so many covers to just, like, throw out on albums is because they had, like, a 3-hour set that they could pull from of all covers songs. And then obviously they started writing their own from there, but like they had such a huge basis already of all kinds of different styles that then it was easy for them to just fall into creating their own versions of this.
Now that being said, I do want to get back to the thing that everybody who's listening to this is thinking. Guys, what's the worst Beatles song? Bobby just got a very concerned look on his face right now.
I don't know if I have one offhand. There's some songs that are super silly and just like throwaway.
Because like I mean, it's hard. I want to discount the covers because clearly there's like that's not necessarily the same thing.
I feel like Wild Honey Pie is one of those where it's just like, the fuck is this? Like, what are you doing?
Well, I think literally it was like. That was just the kind of thing that Paul would, like, sing into a mic between takes while he was just, like, fucking around. And they were like, well, if we're going to make a 31-song album, we should include one of those. And so they found, like, just one that he had done and then dubbed some more vocals over it and threw it on the album. So, like, literally, it is a throwaway song. He improv'd it.
Yeah. Here's my hot take. You know what song annoys the fuck out of me? I Need You.
What?
Just because that, I don't know why, that weird guitar part that
The reverse guitar.
yeah, which sounds like so half-assed and so amateur hour, and it just like every time I listen to the song, which is a finely structured song, it just feels like this kind of wimpy, like little like just kind of coming in at the side, and it just bugs the fuck out of me.
What?
Every single time.
How does that one go?
I need you. And that's the best.
You don't realize how much I need you.
What album is that?
I think
Help.
wasn't it a, or was it Help?
No,
Yeah, it's Help.
yeah,
it
it was
is
Help.
Yeah, it's a Harrison. Yeah, that's right.
Yes.
Oh, I just hate it. It bugs me. I don't know why. It's just like it just sounds so wimpy, and they're not a wimpy band.
Then I guess mine would be Yellow Submarine, just because like it's dumb, and also like the sound effects on it are so grating to me. Yeah.
And all of the like the bubbles.
Yeah,
and,
like
like,
the waves.
Yeah.
It's just like very obnoxious and
yet,
like,
weirdly, when you hear the
abrasive.
bird sounds on Blackbird, that feels weirdly appropriate for some
I
reason.
love
You know?
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
I forget what it was called, and so my answer to this is gonna be sucky, but it's I forget which album it's on. There's one where, and I had never heard it before, with good reason, but the melody at the opening phrase of the verse is like, the intervals are really odd, and it's like it almost sounds out of key. There's a couple songs on the like first 4 albums, even ones that aren't covers, that where they really should have done more takes. like you know, Paul and John are both singing in unison, but one of them is like really flat. You know, like that happens a couple times early on, where it's like they never would have allowed that to be released on like Revolver.
Also, just as a qualifier, I'm saying that no one is allowed to pick Revolution Number 9 as the worst song. That's a cheapskate move. That's a cheapskate. Bill, what do you have?
Okay. I'm going to say it. Yesterday.
The anger that just permeated.
Yeah.
Why? No, is it because it was overplayed, or like because
I think it's overplayed. I think it is really nothing more than Paul McCartney masturbating into a microphone. That's all. That's
such a weirdly specific opinion to have.
I think it is.
I think that's how John Lennon felt too, though.
I think it's so
Yeah.
self-indulgent. I think it's boring.
It's pretty boring.
It's boring, but it really, like, when Paul McCartney was writing that song, this is, again, gonna get weirdly specific here, but I imagine when Paul McCartney was writing this song, he was, like, looking at himself in a mirror and masturbating.
Wow. I like the song, and I like the story behind the song. That said, it doesn't make a lot of sense.
I also think, I mean, that's one of the, like, the epitome of what John and George used to call Paul's granny shit. Like, we need this stuff on here so we'll sell records. I mean, it's why Adele is so popular, is because anyone can like her music. It's so universally middle of the road. It doesn't really take a lot of risks, and that's what Paul had a couple of those songs on every single album. There are a couple of songs where Paul was just like, I'm just gonna throw a little ditty down.
Oh, thanks, Paul. Thanks for that.
Yeah.
But although you did point out how John Lennon has said some notably controversial things about the band in the past.
Yeah, I mean,
he's an asshole. We know this.
Yeah,
this isn't like,
he's a huge asshole. But even reading about, like, you know, during 1967 and onwards, just reading about the shit that he would say about his, you know, fellow band members' music, like, anything that Paul or George put forward, he was just like, what the fuck is this? Like, he didn't like any of it, and he, like, gave them a lot of crap for their really boring lyrics. He was saying, like, this is what our band used to be. We're trying to evolve. Why aren't you giving me anything more to work with? And I mean, he's utterly wrong about that in a lot of cases. Yeah. Sometimes he's right, but
even
you know,
when he said that Ringo,
he's recorded some shit too.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, he definitely has. I heard his. Well, even when you mentioned that quote about him saying that Ringo wasn't even the best drummer in the Beatles.
Right. Yeah.
But here's the question: Is
he
Ringo a good drummer?
No.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, because here's the thing: a lot of people are just like, it always comes up, but no, he's really good.
No, he's fine. He's fine.
I think
actually,
yeah.
when the rest of them started experimenting, he did lay down a couple really out there fills and rhythm tracks. I mean, I think there are definitely some things that he did, like for example on the White Album, that were really innovative and again, like that specific style of drumming paired with that guitar noise is like a sound that certain bands do entire albums of. But I think that a lot of that, he was being pushed towards that by his bandmates.
Also, what's that track where suddenly and out of nowhere he screams, "I got blisters on my fingers"?
The end of Helter Skelter, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hot
Not
Beatles
bad.
trivia, guys.
Not
Hot
bad.
Beatles trivia.
Blisters on my fingers.
I love how that song inspired mass murder. So good. That being said, for those out there, best Beatles solo career.
I'm gonna say Paul McCartney because it's still going and charting.
Best though?
No.
Best?
No.
Yes,
thing.
best because I don't know, like, okay, I feel like the Beatles are better when they collaborate. When they're solo, their stuff is super mediocre. Like, George didn't have a great solo career.
Mm-hmm.
John didn't have a great solo career. Like, I mean, like, I think he was doing all right. He was shot. Like, so Paul's was better because it lasted longer.
Really, murder kind of hinders your career at the
It
end of the
certainly
day.
does.
Yeah.
Like,
Didn't Paul become a nostalgiac though? Like I feel like that's what he's devolved into now.
but that's fine.
sure,
I'd
but
say
he
that's still
also-
more
I
successful
mean,
than
like,
John's.
Throughout the 70s and 80s, he was still pumping out, like, you know, great pop songs. Were they quite as interesting as the things that he did with the Beatles? No.
I would say,
but,
yeah.
But
It-
they were still again, he wasn't really innovating anymore, but they were still important for setting the tone of the time. He was still absolutely culturally relevant, much more so than I think John Lennon was. John Lennon still had a cult of fame around him.
Yeah, he went a little
But-
reclusive a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, let's not
and-
forget, his first solo album is literally a photo of him and Yoko Ono naked, them engaging in primal scream therapy over the course of a
You
double-sided
can
vinyl.
see his scrotum on that album cover.
Yes, you can. And listen, when we did the Fleetwood Mac podcast, we talked about how there's balls right there on the cover of Rumors.
Rumors.
But these
They're
are actual
literal
balls. This is
On
real
the cover of
scrotum
Plastic
folds.
Ono
You can
Band.
count them if you want. Like, it's that bad. But, I mean, the thing is, at the same time, they talk about, like, I got Paul McCartney's first solo album called simply McCartney, that he's just
It's
like,
great.
no.
It's okay. I am a huge proponent of like solitary private bedroom pop albums
Yes,
that you
yes,
record in your home
100%,
studios.
100%.
And that is what that was to me. I really like
Well,
Maybe
because
I'm
it's like
Amazed.
scraps
I really
and
like Lovely Linda.
experiments.
Yeah.
And then out of nowhere, because he played every instrument himself. He only did that a couple other times in his career. And then he's just like, I'm going to do this song called Maybe I'm Amazed. And he plays everything on it. And it's this epic fucking pop. But the album he did after that, Ram, it would technically be credited to Paul and Linda McCartney. Someone, reviewer pointed out, like, it's the basis for what indie pop became for every year afterwards. And it's one of the things where at first I'm like, there's no way. But I listen to it, I'm like, this is a fucking great album, though. Like, actually, legitimately. Like, it's up there almost with John Lennon's Imagine in terms of solo Beatles projects. Because Imagine is still a great-ass, solid, dark album.
There's also the first of many or several diss tracks.
Yes.
It's either like the first diss track or the response to John's diss track called "How Do You Sleep?"
Yes.
where he
Off of Imagine.
like in the Imagine documentary, he calls Paul a cunt. He's like, "How do you sleep, you cunt?" And then Ringo's like, John, that's enough.
That sounds about right. That's pretty good. Beatles stories, thoughts, ideas. You had the story about. Well, here's the other question. Because you and I talked about this, but I just want to get the other guys' opinions first. Who broke up the Beatles?
I would say the Beatles broke up the Beatles.
Yeah.
I would say age broke up the Beatles.
Yeah, I would say specifically John Lennon, but I don't think that he would have behaved the same way if he had never met Yoko Ono.
I think he would have
Yoko
behaved the same way
Ono-
if he hadn't started doing heroin.
Okay, totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
But what would the Beatles have become?
Heroin and Yoko Ono brought out the worst in John Lennon. He was always going to be an egomaniac.
And she just supported everything he said.
But to have a woman in his life that fueled that flame and told him that he was absolutely correct, he was the best songwriter that ever lived. Like, I think that pushed him to the place where he thought that he could go on record publicly while they were still a band and talk about how shitty his bandmates' songs were. I would have left that band too. He was a huge asshole. If I was Paul McCartney, you know, listening to some of the things that John Lennon said about Paul in these late stages, I would not have wanted to stay in a band with him either. And so, while, yes, it was sort of, they all did it together, I mean, I think Ringo left the band, I want to say, like, during the White Album.
Yeah, he actually
did.
left
He
for like
left
3
a couple
weeks.
of
Right.
times.
I think they
And then
all
George
left
quit.
at different points.
George
yeah.
quit while they were recording, I want to say
Let
while
It
they were
Be.
recording, while they were recording Let It Be for like a week. You know, it like, the band was going down the tubes for a while.
Yeah. 'Cause they just weren't happy to be in each other's faces all the time. I think that if they had done what the Rolling Stones did, like just live on opposite sides of the planet and then only put out stuff like every 4 years, like they probably would still be around.
Yeah, potentially.
But that's the other thing.
Should they be?
No.
No.
See, that's the thing. So there's this Beatles tribute band. They're called American English, and they do the whole act. You know, the costumes and the vintage instruments and everything. And years and years and years ago, they actually recorded an album at Abbey Road Studios in London. They called it the 1971 What If album, and the concept of it, and I think it was a mistaken concept. The concept of it is, what if the Beatles hadn't broken up when they did, and they made one more album in 1971? And on this concept album were songs like Maybe I'm Amazed, It Don't Come Easy.
Imagine?
No, Imagine was not on there. I think that was later.
Like in 1980 or something?
Yeah, something like that. What else
Give
was
Peace a
on there?
Chance?
Uncle Albert, Admiral Halsey was on. So all these songs that the Beatles recorded in 1971, you know, the Beatles as solo artists recorded in 1971, and the idea was, this is what that album would sound like had the Beatles recorded one more album. But I don't think that's true. I don't think they would
100%
never have
agree,
recorded
right.
any of those songs
With the band.
With the band,
Yeah.
they could only have been solo albums. And so I think, going back to the question of like who broke up the Beatles or what broke up the Beatles, I think by that point they were just headed in so many separate directions that it was just bound to happen. I think they all wanted different things. Ringo wanted to, write his, happy country songs
And conduct trains.
I think Paul wanted to write, goofy love songs and give his wife Linda a job.
Also,
playing tambourine.
and speaking of, there is that, what is that, Monkberry Pie? There's that one song
Monkberry
off of
Moon
Ram.
Delight.
Yeah, thank you. Which
Yeah.
is,
What a
what a nasty ass
Yeah,
song.
like,
Exactly.
terrible.
Paul McCartney eats pussy, guys. Just so
Right,
you know, this is a thing that
yeah,
happens.
it's
Put
like,
that in your
wow,
mind. Put that
okay.
in your mind bank.
I think it's sort of like they were in college and having this great college experience, and they were in college for like 10 years, and they just wanted to
They put
grow
out
up and
13
get their
albums
jobs.
within the course of 7 years. That's
Yeah.
fucking
That's
insane.
nuts.
and that's only, you say 13 albums in 70. That's only how we're counting it.
Yes.
Right.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
I feel like that was also, this gives some credence to the Beatles broke up the Beatles
Right.
theory, but I think that also you could say their record labels broke up the Beatles. If
Yeah.
So you had a hand in it.
If there had not been the pressure to put out 2 fucking albums every goddamn year,
Yeah.
and even when their next album wasn't ready, the record label was like, single, give us a single, which is why Strawberry Fields Forever and Penny Lane was not included on Sgt. Pepper.
Some
was because
consider that the greatest
it
double
was-
A side ever
It was
released.
released as the double A side because the record label was like, we need a single, and then it didn't sell quite as well as they were expecting it to. It didn't go to #1 everywhere. So their label was
Yeah.
like, oh, well, you can't put this on Sgt. Pepper's then.
Yeah.
So here's another thing. Around the time of Let It Be, they had a new manager named Alan Klein.
Right, because the previous
Who-
manager killed himself?
He died. He
Yeah,
may have
I've
killed
seen
himself. It was like barbiturates or something. But that guy was exploiting the fuck out of them.
Yes.
So what would have happened if Brian Epstein had lived and had been, managing their best
and putting out
interests.
these fires in a professional manner.
Yeah,
and,
like
Yeah.
might he have done a little more greasing of the wheels to like keep spirits higher or something like that? Like because Alan
Ringo,
Klein,
you're still good. Don't worry about
they
it.
did
Just
a
go on
united
stage,
front.
Ringo. Yeah.
They did a united front against Paul, who wanted to basically keep it the way it was going or something like that, and like.
Oh,
There-
well, part of the reason is that Paul wanted his, because he just got married to Linda.
Yeah.
And he wanted to get her dad, who was a lawyer, to manage the
Represent-
band.
yeah.
And the rest of them like, we're going to get an actual fucking lawyer, not your wife's dad. Sorry, no,
Right.
we're not doing that. So that was part of the reason too. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, but also the interesting point. This is sort of related, but it's Linda started showing up at a lot of the sessions too. Like after Yoko was at every single session for the last 2 years of the band, which still makes no goddamn sense to me. All three of
she's an amazing songwriter.
all three of
Walking on Ice. So,
But all three of the rest of them started bringing their wives to the sessions too. So suddenly, instead of 4 people with creative opinions, you had, including George Martin, there were 5 people with creative opinions. Now there were 9.
yeah.
And that's too many cooks in the kitchen. Like, is
Too
going to
many
fall
cooks.
apart.
Yeah.
Get out of my head, by the way.
Can we talk about briefly Layla and Other Love Songs?
Yes.
Oh, man.
Yes,
Can we
please.
talk about that? Because that story, the story behind all of that still blows my fucking mind.
There's so much passive aggression and non-confrontation
Right.
and like backstabbing.
Right, because basically, long story short, Eric Clapton's like meets Linda?
Patty Harris.
Thank you, Patty
Boy.
Harris. Yeah.
Patty Boy.
Yeah, and it's just like, I fucking love you.
I love your
so.
wife,
And
bro.
listen, and George Harrison's my buddy, but I love you so much.
You're
and I'm gonna
model.
record a whole album of songs about how much I fucking love you. And then eventually it gets to the point where like George Harrison's not an idiot. He's like, just take her.
Yeah,
Just-
because he was probably cheating on her as well, and
Yeah.
like they weren't in a great relationship. And he's like, "Oh, you can just take a mate. That's fine."
And then he does, and they get married, and it doesn't last like what 4 years
Right?
or
'Cause he's
something.
a fucking heroin addict. And
Yeah.
he's shitty to women, and then she is
taking a
alone
theme.
for years because she didn't have a career. Like she had a modeling career, but she never like went to school and like learned a trade.
Yeah.
So the only thing she has is to be like a musician's wife, and she's just like, "Well, what the fuck do I do now?" And like I don't know. It's in her autobiography, which is great. But like,
Oh my god, that must be like a harrowing read in
Yeah.
some certain
It's-
sections.
it's pretty good.
It's like he's a guitar god, but he's just thinking about me all the time.
Yeah.
Like, I want to move my
But-
fingers up
so
your body like
this
a guitar.
woman
Stop.
had
Just stop.
the song "Something" written about her in Layla. Like
Jesus Christ.
that's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
What if you were that? Like, what if you inspired those songs? That's crazy.
Bobby, I think there's a great breakup album waiting inside of you. You're like a male Adele. You're like the Adele.
I'm like,
No.
just go ahead and put it out there. Her name's Wait. Or Susan. Or someone. I think that's a great. You should work on it. It'd be a good idea. Bill, what's your favorite Beatles story?
My favorite Beatles.
Side note, one quick thing I want to point out.
happened here?
I just want to point out, it was completely incidental and random, and it's just a weird fact. We recorded this podcast. We had the state plan out in advance, not even thinking about jack shit or
yeah.
anything. And we recorded this podcast one day after the 50th anniversary of Revolver.
which is our number 3.
Coming at the 50th anniversary of number 3 ranked album Revolver.
But
on
I
the
did
list.
my Beatles tribute night like 2 days after the 50th anniversary of Revolver, which was interesting.
Wait.
No.
That would put it in the future.
Rubber Soul.
Tomorrow night, Bobby's hosting a Beatles
Listen,
tribute.
I'm drunk.
Okay, he's
What?
not actually, but it's fine. Yeah, Bill, you were saying your favorite Beatles story. Side note, we also recorded this right this
Did you do that twice in a row on purpose?
No, and I'm gonna go somewhere where I'm appreciated. Damn it!
You're gonna do a solo album.
I'm gonna do a solo podcast.
Listen,
Bill.
Yuki and I agree. I am the best podcaster here. I am leaving this entire establishment. There's actually a documentary about their touring days coming out.
Oh,
written
yeah.
by
Yeah.
Howard.
Ron Howard.
Yeah.
It's gonna
I'm
be
really.
I'm not
Curious.
sure how that. I'm not. I mean,
gonna be great.
It could be really interesting.
It's gonna be great.
It could. I mean, I like any of the, as far as favorite Beatles story. Like I like any of those kind of early Beatles stories about them just running from, running from fans and just having no idea kind of what they were, what they had gotten themselves into, and like,
Yeah.
when you think about like the opening sequence of A Hard Day's Night, which is one of my favorite sequences in film. And Hard Day's Night is one of my favorite movies. It's by far the best Beatles movie. And but that opening scene, you know, where they're running and, you know, they get on the train and all that. I mean, it was exaggerated for the movie, but
not by much.
Not by much. And to think that that's what they lived with all the time, like, that's nuts.
That's why they stopped touring.
That's why they stopped touring.
Bill, what do
that
you
was
think of the
fucking
movie?
scary.
What do you think of the movie Spice World?
It's
It's Hard Day's Night.
But for the Spice Girls.
Yes, Meatloaf is the driver of the bus. It makes perfect sense.
So here's another thing.
all right, you're like banished from this podcast. Like, I'm officially banished.
You go with
You're
Linda
done.
and you record an album.
Yeah, record a terrible album.
Yeah, the other thing I want to point out is that we talked about how without the Beatles, I think we take the Beatles for granted, really. Without them, we wouldn't have the Monkees. We wouldn't have, more importantly and legit, we wouldn't have Badfinger. Which is actually a fantastic group. But most importantly out of all, if we didn't have the Beatles, guys, you realize we wouldn't have the Grey album, right? That's not a thing that we would have, and that album is so fucking good.
Yes, it is.
I want to point out.
It is. Well, I think I told you that the Grey album version of 99 Problems is far superior to the original.
Right, and well, the thing is that when you talk about 2004, during the mashup craze, when this happened, I mean, this album set off a lot of things, and what other people did, like, I'm going to mix Jay-Z's Black Album with Weezer's Blue Album, and I'm going to get the Purple Album. Like, people
It was
did
the
that.
Black and Blue album,
Right,
wasn't it?
or I think they called it Purple Album, and I'm just
maybe,
like,
I don't
fuck,
know.
I didn't care. It sucked anyway.
Wasn't there
But-
some notorious B.I.G. thing that someone did?
Right, something like that. And these all came out around the same time. But the thing that Danger Mouse got so right in taking his samples from Nothing But the White Album is that, unlike with the Jay-Z songs he mixed it with from the Black Album, he got the tone right. Like, you Change Clothes, this really frilly, dumb little, you know, Pharrell-produced song off that album. Right. He finds Piggies as the beat for that, and, like, you know, uses that. It was great, exactly. Then using Helter Skelter for 99 Problems.
Yeah. Well, no, he didn't use Helter Skelter. Didn't he use Glass Onion and Savoy Truffle?
No, not for 99 Problems.
Not for 99 Problems, yeah. He definitely used Helter Skelter for 99 Problems, yeah. I think, then he also used Julia for December 4th, and this nice little clip beat. Oh, it was so good.
Clip beat?
This little like do.
I know that he used Savoy Truffle.
Yeah, he did. I think it was during the encore.
Oh, it's Encore.
Yeah.
That was Glass Onion and Savoy Truffle.
Yeah, because Glass Onion and 99 Problems, that's not as good. But the thing is, he in an interview talked about how as soon as he had that idea, he was like, well, I have to fucking do it now because I had this idea, so someone else had this idea, so I clearly have to do it right now. Like, and it took him about 2 weeks, and he did it. I'm just like, as it's so popular that was, and this is a true thing, the following year, Jay-Z actually put out an a cappella version of the Black Album.
Right.
Of just his vocals and nothing else.
Basically,
you can buy the
steal
CD.
it, yeah.
Right, you can buy the CD of Jay-Z's vocals with no beats. Have fun. That's the entirety.
Crazy.
I know, exactly.
That is those are like some big brass balls for doing that because like he's inviting everyone to steal his music.
Yeah.
I know. And then, but let's not forget Paul McCartney's greatest contribution is clearly 4 or 5 Seconds, featuring Madonna, featuring Kanye West and Rihanna. Yeah. 4 or 5 seconds, I'm wildin'. But Taryn's really upset right now. But also, I guess, like, Kanye collaborated with another song with Paul McCartney that was going to be called Piss on Your Grave, but then he gave it to, like, some other G.O.D. signed artist album. Paul McCartney's still with it, guys. He's still jiggy, as the kids say.
Jiggy.
So nice of Kanye to give these young breaking artists a chance to break out. Before we close out here...
Paul a chance.
Before we break out, do you have any last good Beatles stories, thoughts, ideas?
Nope, I have shared what I know.
Aside from Yoko Ono being in a hospital bed in the recording studio?
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that did happen. I believe she was in a car accident, and this was while they were working on Get Back / Let It Be. She was like on bed rest. So John had a bed installed in the studio so she could continue to oversee recordings. And I was like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Like, the control that she had over him is just insane.
They made such great music together.
No, they did not.
All right. Well, that being said, Bobby, last thoughts, ideas?
I do have an anecdote.
Okay.
It is related to how I got into the Beatles.
I'm really curious.
We had the records growing up, we had Yellow Submarine, and I knew what I Want to Hold Your Hand was. But I sort of got into the Beatles through my older sister Katie, who was obsessed with the Beatles anthology documentaries that were on TV, specifically like part 1, 2, 3. It wasn't the 10-hour thing; it was the like PBS version. Okay. But she loved Paul McCartney, and so she would watch it, and I would sort of vicariously like enjoy it as like, oh, Katie loves this thing. But she used to make these music videos with a camcorder of Beatles songs where she and my cousin Susie would lip sync, and they would get out these clothes from my parents' closet so that it was like psychedelic clothes and like lip sync to songs, and they made me do, with a little help from my friends, as Ringo in like a silky purple paisley shirt, and there is spaghetti sauce on my face, and I am lip syncing to because I ate spaghetti that night, and I didn't wash my face, and they didn't tell me, and I'm just like I'll get by with a little help from my friends, and so like there exists footage of me doing that. It's on VHS in a closet somewhere.
Adorable.
But I was remembering that just now, and I'm like, we should fucking convert that.
Yeah, can we have like show notes or something where we put that out?
Before we finish up, I actually want to ask everybody, what is your favorite cover of a Beatles song? Because I know that we all know hundreds.
Rufus Wainwright's Across the Universe.
That's a nice choice.
Yeah.
This is kind of a random one, but I really like... Obviously, St. Vincent's Dig a Pony is pretty damn great.
Yeah,
it's fucking great.
But
it's on YouTube.
I really
Look
like My Brightest Diamond did Everybody's Got Something to Hide Except for Me and My Monkey.
A song I don't necessarily love, but I'd be really curious to hear her version.
But it's just a delightfully little fun...
Snappy little
cover. Yeah.
There are so many that I can't even like think of.
Off the I Am Sam soundtrack?
But I am reminded of a version of Maybe I'm a... Oh, that doesn't count, though, because that's a...
Count.
Fuck.
Also, but that being said, I did joke about it, but I would say Sarah McLachlan's Blackbird off of the I Am Sam soundtrack is actually rather understated and actually rather beautiful.
There was, like, not a bad version of Don't Let Me Down on that, if I remember correctly.
Oh, okay. So, Across the Universe, the movie. Deeply, utterly flawed. You know, not a good film.
Bobby's covering himself in shirt.
The one worthwhile thing in it, at this point, I would say, is their version of I Want to Hold Your Hand.
I don't even remember.
They really slow it down,
yeah,
and really bring out the bass riff. And it's sung by a woman, and I think it's just it feels more like a version of the song that could have been included on like the White Album or like Sgt. Pepper's.
I remember liking the Come Together portion of that film.
Oh yeah, because didn't Joe Cocker sing it
in the movie?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Joe Cocker, like...
He's like...
They showed him, like, dressed as a homeless man and, like, dressed as a pimp, and he sang Come Together in the film.
He has the most, like, cred to sing any of those songs.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which is why I think that's why they included him, and they also definitely did his version of With Little Help from My Friends.
Wait, are you saying that Bono's contributions to this movie
Fuck
soundtrack
Bono.
are not...
Man... Don't even get me started on Bono.
Bill, what's your favorite cover?
My favorite cover, I gotta pick two because they're both kind of on the same level.
I named like four, so
yeah. One is the Yonder Mountain String Band's cover of "And Your Bird Can Sing." It's this very cool bluegrass thing.
Yeah.
You know, kind of acoustic bluegrass deal cover, but like they recreate the solo pretty, you know, the opening riff pretty perfectly.
Yeah.
But instead of like, you know, a guitar solo in the middle, it's like this banjo and mandolin thing.
Yeah.
It's just awesome. I've only heard it as a live version, but it's pretty cool. And then my other favorite cover is my kind of second favorite band covering my first favorite band, and that's the Old 97s covered "I'll Cry Instead," and they've only ever done it live. They've never put it on an album or anything like that. But it puts a cool kind of country-ish beat over that song, and that song lends itself very well to that sort of thing. They slow it down a little bit, which is nice. They lengthen it a bit, you know, throw in a nice kind of twangy guitar solo in the middle of it, and you know, Rhett Miller and Murray Hammond have never been shy about,
Like bands like the Beatles?
Yeah, I mean, they've never been shy about wearing their influences on their sleeve. You know, they've covered the Beatles, they've covered REM, they've covered, yeah, well, I mean, John, they've had him produce their stuff.
Wu-Tang, everything.
You know, things like that. So it was just it was just a very cool cover, and I've been lucky enough to hear it live once, and it's just fun.
That's right. Well, before our guests get back to where they were once belong, I got to be honest, I couldn't get by with this podcast without a little help from my friends. So I just want to say, Bobby Evers, you're the Beatles guy, and I'm so glad you were here. Thank you for doing that, sharing your knowledge. Bill Mayeroff, you just fucking, I am so glad you are a welcome addition to the podcast family here at Chartographers Incorporated.
Indeed, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you. It was a pleasure and an honor.
Taryn, as always, as if I need to say anything. Thank you.
But you should just say something.
You're good at the thing that you do. Which
is he doing that?
Well, no, the thing that he does, as we discussed previously, is putting me in my place when I say dumb shit, which, as we've determined, is frequently and always, and I always appreciate that. It's a hard task to do, okay? But it's like he looks at me and he says, "I'm looking through you," and I'm like, I get it.
You're the same.
So that being said, guys, thank you so much for listening to our podcast. Like us on Facebook, rank us on the iTunes, etc.
Google Play and stuff.
Cuckoo Cachoo, guys. Thank you so much. Goodbye.